Good evening, everybody. It's Craig with another video. I was actually settling down for a cold winter's nap. Already had my pajamas on and ready to go to bed when suddenly I received a text message from a friend of mine, fellow federal worker, and it appears that there's some new news about the deferred resignation. So I said, I can't let my federal worker brothers and sisters go uninformed. No, but seriously, it's Craig with another video. And wow, there is some breaking news with regard to the OPM Deferred Resignation offer. And we're going to get into it. I figured we'd break this video up into two parts. The first part is just going to be to go through the article together, read what some of the implications are of the judge's decision that just came down at about 7:20 p.m. earlier tonight. And well, that would be 7:20 p.m. Eastern time, I believe, something like that. And we're going to go through that article and kind of look at the implications of what this ruling means. We're going to read it and try to interpret just a little bit. I'm not a lawyer, neither am I a legal expert, and neither do I play a lawyer on TV. But we are going to look at it together based on the things that we know, some of the statutes and regulations that we know. And then the second part of the video is just going to be hopefully some finality, some things that we can set into concrete stone now that we know that there is some moving ahead and some factuality and moving forward with some of this. So let's take a look at it. This article is from it's from Federal News Network, a really reputable source, reports on Fed News. And so the title of the article is "The Judge Lifts Restraining Order Blocking the Deferred Resignation Program." So in a written ruling Wednesday, a federal judge in Boston said the unions who had sued to block the program lacked standing to obtain a temporary restraining order. So the Trump administration is free to continue implementing its controversial deferred resignation program after a federal court in Massachusetts dissolved a restraining order that had delayed the program's deadline by several days. In a written opinion, it has the opinion, you can check it out if you want. I don't want to make this video very long, but I do want to get into some of the specifics of this ruling. In a written opinion, Wednesday afternoon, Judge George O'Toole said he determined that the three federal unions that had challenged the program lacked the standing they need in order to meet the legal standard for a temporary restraining order. The plaintiffs here are not directly impacted by the directive, he wrote. Quote, instead, they allege that the directive subjects them to upstream effects, including a diversion of resources to answer members' questions about the directive, a potential loss of membership, and possible reputational harm. The unions do not have the required direct stake in the fork directive, but are challenging a policy that affects others, specifically executive branch employees. This is not sufficient. Now let's get into this just a little bit before I move on to the next part of the video. What the judge is saying is that because this particular fork in the road directive does not affect the union specifically, meaning the union employee rights, the union bargaining rights, those kinds of things, because it has no direct effect on the unions, that it is insufficient evidence to block the OPM deferred resignation offer. Look at this part here. It says the plaintiffs are not directly impacted by the directive. Instead, they allege that the directive subjects them to upstream effects, including the diversion of resources to answer members' questions. What this is simply saying is that the judge is saying, listen, you are looking at future effects of how this might impact the union if a mass amount of employees leave. You're not looking at direct effect on you as individual employees who work for the union. It's something that directly affects others. And so that's the reason why the judge found no standing in this particular injunction or in this particular complaint to block this, right? So it continues on. Wednesday's ruling, hang on, let me go back up here. Yes, Wednesday's ruling does not completely end the legal challenge. It only affects the union's request for a temporary pause in the deferred resignation program while their claims work their way through the litigation process. However, in denying a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction, O'Toole said he had determined the unions were likely to succeed on the merits of their case. The Office of Personnel Management had planned to stop accepting stop resignation requests under the program last Thursday, but that deadline was temporarily extended while O'Toole considered the request for a restraining order. In court filings earlier this week, OPM said it intended to close the program to new entrants as soon as legally permissible. OPM was pleased the court has rejected its desperate effort to strike down the deferred resignation program. As of 7 p.m. tonight, the program is now closed. Now that's interesting because as soon as they received the ruling, as of 7 p.m., the program is now closed. So all of the folks who wanted to take the OPM deferred resignation, you only be able to take it as of 7 p.m. this evening, Eastern Time. So the program is now closed, said McLaurin Penover, a spokeswoman for the office. There is no longer any doubt the deferred resignation program was both legal and a valuable option for federal employees. This program was carefully designed, thoroughly vetted, and provides generous benefits so federal workers can plan for their futures, end quote. As of last week, 65,000 federal employees had volunteered for the resignation program. OPM has not yet provided an update or final figure. The AFGE, one of the three plaintiffs in the lawsuit, said it is assessing its next legal steps following Wednesday's ruling. Importantly, this decision did not address the underlying lawfulness of the program. Everett Kelly says, "We continue to maintain it is illegal to force American citizens who have dedicated their careers to public service to make a decision in a few short days without adequate information about whether to uproot their families and leave their careers for what amounts to an unfunded IOU from Elon Musk," end quote. I won't read the rest of the article. You know all about this information. You know some of the history of why it was brought in the first place, why the litigation was presented by the AFGE, and now you know the very latest that the judge is going to allow this to continue on. Now, what does this mean for you? What does this mean for you, the federal worker? Particularly the ones who decided to take the deferred resignation. As of the latest report, it says 65,000 people decided to take the deferred resignation. And we don't know how many more people will take the deferred resignation or took the deferred resignation before 7 p.m. on Wednesday. And now that number will probably be a lot less than was expected, since now there is no more extensions after it right now. We may see some more extensions in the future, but nobody can tell quite yet how that's going to look. But what does it mean for you? Now, I thought about this as I received this article this evening. I thought about it. I said, there's probably three specific things I want to talk about. This is the second part of the video. Three specific things that I'd like to talk about with regard to what federal employees, whether you take the offer or whether you don't take the offer, the three things that you need to consider. The first thing is you can now prepare practically. You can prepare practically. And what that means is, since we have some merit, since we now know this is legitimate, this is going to move forward undoubtedly, you can sort of plan. If you took the OPM deferred resignation, you can plan for what your next steps are going to be. Now, what that means is what we've talked about before. And if you want a copy of the 3 PDFs that I've done, I'll put a link down in the description, put my email down in the description. You can email me for a copy of those PDFs. But I describe all of these things. One of the things you do when you plan practically is you make sure that you start dusting off that resume, start making sure you got all your training. You can plan practically. And the reality is, you can now start looking for those jobs if you haven't started already. If you took the deferred resignation last week, you probably should have already been looking for a job or already been looking for employment so that you can get paid from your government job and you can get paid from your new employer. I want to let you know that sometimes it takes a while, particularly depending on what security clearances you need and what types of jobs that you're going for. So make sure you plan practically. Sit down with your family, talk to the people that are important to you, make sure they understand the ramifications of this, make sure they understand what's getting ready to happen, and make sure you plan practically. The second thing you need to do is plan financially. Okay, so I'm going to say this to everybody, and I don't mean to get into nobody's business, but most people who have taken this OPM resignation offer, most of you probably need to go ahead and get a job. Most of everyone who took it, get a job. Get that job now and start planning financially of how things are going to look, because you don't know what's going to happen between now and the 8 months. As you plan financially, make sure you've got all your investments in a row. Make sure you've got your nest eggs, all of your savings accounts, all of your financial security. Make sure your retirement plan is in place. All things financial, make sure that those things are locked in and in place, because there may be a storm. You may encounter a situation where employment might shrink up a little bit. But I will tell you this. One of the things, and this is completely my opinion, one of the things that I was thinking about is there are certain contractors, certain private sector contractors that do business with the government. I think they were really waiting to see if this program was going to move forward. I'm talking about those big companies, and you know their names. I won't name them all, or I won't name any of them, but you know who they are. You know who the big defense contractors are. I think they were waiting for this decision to come out to make sure that this was actually going to move forward, because I think they were hedging their bets in a couple of areas. On one thing, they were saying, well, if this decision does not move forward and they are not allowed to take the OPM deferred resignation, then what that means is folks who do come over to private sector contracting, private sector companies, it's a great possibility they may go right back to the government. But the other thing they might have been thinking about was, well, if this thing does go through, then we know that the people that are coming over to us likely may not come back to the government, right? Some people may just be fed up with working for the government. I've talked to some folks today who actually took the offer, who said that they were just really looking to get into different careers, get away from civil servant work, which is perfectly fine. They've done their time. There's plenty of people I know who are also retiring, who this offer looks really good to. They can take the offer, go ahead and do what they have to do, because maybe they don't want to be around for the restructuring and the reshaping of what's about to happen. And if you are of retirement, if you got VSIP, Vera VSIP, all of these types of things, if you are eligible, it may be a good offer for you. Third, plan mentally and emotionally. That's the final step. That's the final plan that you need to think about. Again, I've got plenty of information available. I've got other videos available. Just check the links in the description. I'll put a recommended video here about planning for your mental health. Remember, we talked about taking some time, if you took the deferred offer, taking some time to reflect on your military career. And listen, there are a bunch of, and this is what I really, really wanted to say while I have your attention tonight. What I really want to say is, I know that there's a wave of people who are saying, man, TikTok, Instagram, this is where I'm going to go ahead and get all of my information. I want to speak to those folks who are looking at videos for over 40 content creators like us, people who are a little bit later in life, have a lot more experience. The reason why we're using YouTube is because YouTube, I think, is primed for long form content for the everyday person, the everyday guy or gal who is out here just trying to make decisions based on real evidence, real facts, and real advice. And so what I mean by that is, think about it. You've got the government, you've got the politicians, you've got those who sit in high places. There's that one element. And then you've got people who are famous, people who are going to be rich no matter who the president is. You've got people who are kind of up in the upper echelons. You got that element, right? And then you have the news, and the news has certain constituencies as well, and the news has certain priorities. So that we know how we feel about media at some places, in some cases, right? The news can be helpful at times, but the news can also be a little bit confusing and can also come out with certain stories that may not necessarily always be accurate, where you've got to fact check and make sure that everything's good to go. And then you have content creators. And out of all of the social media spaces, the best opportunity for long form content from real people like you is YouTube. So I would highly encourage you to stay on top of the people that are making really good videos. I think I'll drop a couple of links into the in the description of this video to link you up with some good content creators who will help you kind of carve out. I'm one of them. So like if you if you decide to rock with me and stick with me, I'm here for you. I'll be doing more videos around this subject. I have some other subjects that I'll do videos around. Since this is a counseling channel, but I can do some videos around helping you prepare for your career, helping you do that resume, talking about interviewing skills, all those types of things. You know, I can really speak to those things and help you out in any way that I possibly can. But I want you to stick to really good, solid advice. And most of the solid advice you're going to find here on YouTube. So that's all I have for tonight. And I hope this video has been helpful to you. And I know there's a lot going on, but you don't have a whole heck of a lot of time. September 30th will be right around the corner. So I want you to prepare, because I want you to make sure that you are ready for everything that's coming. You got a new career out there. If you took the offer, if you didn't take the offer, there are definitely, undoubtedly changes coming to the federal government, which you've got to be prepared for. You got plenty of information for that, and I'd love to share it with you guys. Thank you for being on the journey with me, and thank you for watching this video. And I appreciate every single one of you, all of you who have subscribed to my channel. I really appreciate all of you. Listen, we are in this together, and I'm gonna be here for you. I'm not gonna leave you, right? Trust me. Let's get in this bobsled and let's ride it together, and let's see what's on the other side. All right, take care, everybody, and I'll see you on the next video. Live royally and live